Cool. I'm Carter Henman. I'm a senior on the UW debate team. I did LD for 4 years in high school. I'm from Cheyenne East. Go Thunderbirds! And I just really love college policy debate, and I think that anybody who is interested in debating after high school should seriously consider their opportunities for switching to a different event than what they're familiar with and still getting the competitive thrill and educational opportunities that debate provides.
And I'm Courtney Thomson-Lichty. I'm also a senior. I did public forum debate at Kelly Walsh in high school. I really loved doing college policy and would seriously push people in that direction, at least to consider something that may otherwise be outside of their comfort zone. So basically, we're here to talk about why debating without CX experience in high school is not as bad as it seems, and why doing CX in college might actually be one of the best options.
Yeah.
So first we'll talk about some general notes, and then Carter and I will each talk about our own experiences with our respective high school events, him with Lincoln Douglas and me with PF and Public Forum. So first things first, high school CX is in most places, especially rural places like Wyoming, is dramatically different than college policy. So while PF and LD share less overall with college policy, all incoming freshmen come in with a lot to learn, kind of at a standard baseline where everyone is a little bit lost for the first month or so. Nobody's at any particular disadvantage.
Yeah, exactly. Like college policy debate is no more different than high school policy than it is from high school LD or PF.
First things, which seems pretty simple, is there are longer speech times and far more prep time in college policy, which dramatically changes the way that the debate goes down. It changes the way everyone preps, and it changes the way the debate happens. Overall, they're much better debates, partially because of that longer prep time.
Yeah.
Another note, you shouldn't be scared because we have a lot of squad-supported research in college policy. Particularly at Wyoming, debate is a team effort. You get plenty of direction and coaching. You get lots of files that are worked on collectively by the team. And finally, people that haven't done policy in high school have fewer bad habits to unlearn. You can come in as a clean slate with some public speaking skills, but without some of the bad habits that carry over from CX. Not that they're not unlearnable, but it is actually easier sometimes to build from the bottom up than trying to come in with previous experience.
Yeah. Generally, you're just, as a college student, going to be held to some higher academic standards. This is true in the classes you're taking, the papers you're writing, but it's also true in debate. Most of your judges will be coaches, and as coaches, they'll be employed by universities. They're usually professors or lecturers or adjuncts, so they all know what they're talking about. That was a real comfort to me because one of the most frustrating things that I experienced in high school LD was having to prepare to either debate in front of a college debater who has a bit more background knowledge on not only the resolution but like jargon and argumentative standards, and then having to go and also be able to debate in front of the bus driver or the volunteer mom judge.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. They expect a lot different things, and those are all new standards that everyone has to learn, whether they were policy debaters or not. So.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just my personal experience with LD and the transition that I had to go through in college. The most obvious difference, I think, is learning to debate with a partner. And I don't know, this wasn't the reason I did LD necessarily, but it's LD, which means that you don't have to rely on anyone else. It's all up to you to get your case together and to execute your arguments in a round. Having someone else in the round to fall back on requires you to build a relationship of trust, right? Because your partner can screw things up, but they can also make things a lot better. It helps you be more confident and also be able to bounce ideas off of each other in the debate even, so that you can give more effective speeches on your own. The other difference, of course, is that LD, unlike a lot of debate, has a very set characteristic case structure. If you did LD in high school, then I'm sure at some point your coach gave you a checklist for putting your case together. You got to have a value criterion, and 3 contentions. And so that case structure is sometimes helpful in organizing your thoughts, but it can also be a crutch. And it's also something that doesn't necessarily go away when you get into policy debate. For example, if you think about the value and value criterion as a way for deciding what things are most important, what sort of arguments matter the most, it comes down to something in policy debate that's very similar. It's just determining whether your impact matters more or why it matters more. And so the contentions sort of get shifted around, but it's not like the case structure is completely illogical, or it's a way of debating that would hurt you in college necessarily. The other thing is, a lot of times I think in LD, because of that rigid case structure, people go about winning debates in the sense that they try to rack up a number of checkpoints, right? So it's like, I won the value debate, I won the value criterion, and all 3 of my contentions have been unattacked, so therefore I win. And that's not great LD debating necessarily, and it's also a skill that you want to defamiliarize yourself with in college. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you care about philosophy, or if you care about questions of value and ethics, that you don't have a place in college debate. It's not just about who can win the race to a nuclear war. It matters that you are able to say, this is the most ethical way to think about impact claims. You also have opportunities to question the underlying assumptions that people make on the AF with more critical arguments, or even to do that when you are AF and say, hey, there's a more important way for us to think about issues than just a policy-making framework. So I think that those are part of the reasons that I really did find a home in college policy debate, because I think it allowed me to think on both sides of the paradigm. Having a fast debate and being focused on evidence doesn't mean that you don't have to do any independent thought. I thought that in high school I was better than the CXers because they were all just reading cards and didn't think about their own arguments. But that isn't true in high school or in college. I was definitely wrong, because it's not just about having the evidence and moving it like a piece on a chessboard. It's about being able to explain your arguments and demonstrating a clear mastery of what your evidence actually says. So I think those were a lot of the issues that I had to deal with in the transition. Some were hard, some were easy, and overall I think it was valuable to have done both in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk about public forum a little bit now. First, I want to say, basic logic and argumentation translates well. If you think you understand logical fallacies, logical leaps, and how to argue, fundamentally good debate is all the same. It's all based on being able to explain your argument. Now, I think that actually public forum PF fleshes out the ability to explain arguments just because of the audience that you so frequently have in high school. It means you don't take for granted necessarily the necessity to explain certain arguments. The other thing that I'm going to mention is just that PF is a topic that rotated frequently, which necessitated constant research, which I think is similar to policy. Obviously, there's only 1 year-long topic in college, but you are doing constant research, much very similar to preparing a new case almost every couple of weeks for public forum. And also the time constraints in PF, very short speeches and having a partner, both translate well to kind of the in-round stresses that you face in policy. Very fast-paced at times, but if you're already used to dealing with limited prep and limited speech time, it just becomes that much easier. But overall, I think PF actually put me in a very good place, because I came in with very little background on policy or kind of some of the theoretical issues, and I was able to learn those straight from the ground up. I came in with some logical reasoning and argumentation background, but overall I got to learn the structure brand new. So I think that's basically all we have, but we would encourage you to contact Wyoming Debate with questions. You can email our director, tcram, tcram, at uyo.edu. with any questions about the debate team.
Yeah, you can also get in touch with either of us for questions. My email is chenman, CHENMAN, @uwyo.edu. And again, I would just say that it was a very valuable experience for me to debate in college, and it still is. And I don't think that anybody should rule themselves out just because they did a different event in high school.
But thank you very much for watching.